And that's one of the reasons that I brought this samurai sword. Because I wanted to bring the reality of this to where you can really get it. You see this thing? This thing is as sharp as a razor blade. Right? This is not a practice sword for doing forms. This was created for the war. This sword has absolutely one purpose. You can tell from the handle, you can tell from the curve, this is meant to hack a human body into big pieces. That's it. There's no other use. This is not a farming tool that we apply in fighting. This is about life and death. And so this dough that falls from this focuses on this as a field. This is, I like to think about this as problem solving. Okay? I said that I wanted to talk about truth and virtue. So in a martial setting here, this is truth. Do you understand what I mean by this? I don't want you to think about truth in terms, in this setting, as the thoughts in the mind of God, or an abstraction or a conceptualization. Truth, for our purposes, is very simply defined. Truth is what is. Truth is what has gone through the formality of occurrence. When you're standing in a martial encounter with somebody who may be very bent on physically, destroying you, that's truth. That's truth right there. So now, what's virtue? I define virtue as action in harmony with truth. So the way that I think about this, when I think about that martial encounter, here's a potential situation that has a lot of different outcomes. I could die. This other person could die. Now, a lot of people think about martial arts and they say, well, yeah, but we do it as a sport now. Well, one of my teacher's students killed a guy in combat. He killed a guy that in a tournament. He killed a guy that was 6'7", right? I've had students that were attacked on the street that literally wouldn't be alive if they hadn't fought for their lives. So we live in a polite society, but what this represents, and it's a lot of things, and that's why I brought the sword here. What this represents is the potential to do incredible destruction. Incredible destruction. This represents all potential for incredible destruction. This represents atomic bombs. This represents Panzer tanks. This represents guns and bullets. This represents all of that. Historically, it's also represented a lot more. And that's why this particular sword comes with a tradition. This sword here also comes with a tradition, and that's why I brought it. This is a practice sword, but this is a sword that's considered a civil sword as opposed to a military sword. It's a jian. Sometimes they call it a general sword. And it was a popular sword in China for probably 2,500 years. It represents, sword shows up in Buddhism too, it represents the ability to discriminate, the ability to distinguish this from that. One of the important aspects of the ability to discriminate is, when do I pull this out and when do I not pull it out? The most important. Famous story of the Zen master, right? And the samurai comes to him and he wants to know about heaven and hell. And the Zen master says to him, insults him somehow, that he's supposed to pull his sword out. And the Zen master says, oh, there open the doors of hell. And he realizes, he puts the sword back and says, oh, there open the doors of hell. Right? So the sword came to represent the ability to discriminate, the ability to use power only when it's appropriate. This sword was the sword of the Chun-Tzu. When you hear about Confucius, a lot of translations of Confucius, the superior man says this, or the superior man when faced with this does this. That term superior man is Chun-Tzu. So this is a sword not of a bandit, not of a pirate, not of somebody without the developed ability to discriminate. This is a sword for someone that is a product of refinement, a lot of refinement. And that's what I want to talk about, because this is how virtue can be taught. Because how could we have these if virtue could not be taught? How could we dare have these if virtue